Megatron finally won. Optimus Prime was dead, but instead of celebrating, he completely lost his mind. For everyone who grew up in the 80s and 90s, Megatron was the ultimate Decepticon leader. Cold, calculating, relentless. But Marvel Comics revealed something the cartoon never dared to show. The day Optimus Prime died wasn't Megatron's greatest victory. It was the beginning of his psychological collapse. And the one who pushed him to that breaking point was the very Decepticon he trusted the most. The story begins with an engineer named Ethan Zachary, who worked at the Energy Futures Industries facility on the Oregon coast. He and his colleague Margaret had developed something the world had never seen: the hydrothermocline, a device capable of drawing unlimited energy from the temperature differences within the ocean's depths. A virtually inexhaustible power source, a technology that could change the planet. Megatron found out, and he arrived with the Combaticons to steal it. But there was a problem. Optimus Prime arrived at the same time with the Protectobots, and the battle inside the lab was destroying the very thing the Decepticons had come to steal. The target itself being destroyed by the conflict. That is when Ethan Zachary did something neither of them expected. He was hooked on a computer game called Multiworld, a program so advanced it simulated entire civilizations with digital inhabitants who had their own cultures, fears, and stories, simulated lives inside a machine. And as an experienced player, Ethan knew a secret about the game that not everyone did: a hidden password coded into the program one gamers called a backdoor that let you sneak your character back into the game at any point. Ethan proposed settling the battle inside the game. Protectobots against Combaticons. The loser would hand over the hydrothermocline, and it was Megatron himself who raised the stakes. Whoever lost would also give up their own life, destroyed for real in the physical world. Optimus agreed. Megatron calculated the odds and accepted. He saw no risk at all. He saw a perfect trap. But Multiworld had a rule Megatron had not anticipated. Any intentional harm to the game's digital creatures would result in automatic defeat. It was a battle that demanded both strength and principle, and the Combaticons had neither. The Protectobots fought alongside the inhabitants of Multiworld. They earned their trust, and with the help of these digital beings, they eliminated the Combaticons one by one. When Defensor formed from the fusion of the 5 Protectobots, Megatron stood completely alone, and that is when he made a decision that reveals everything about who he is. Megatron used the same backdoor password he had already discovered when he first scouted the location. He reappeared out of nowhere, cutting off Optimus mid-sentence just as he was about to celebrate victory, and struck him by surprise, without warning. A cheat in a video game. With a leader's life on the line, Optimus survived, clinging to the edge of a platform. To win now, there was only one path left. Use his last strength to knock down one of the structure's support pipes, collapsing the towers on top of Megatron. But along with them, small Metropipe creatures fell too, caught in the collapse. He won the game, but looking at what he had done, something inside Optimus Prime could not go on. He had violated the Autobots' most sacred principle. He had knowingly harmed innocents because of the conflict with the Decepticons, something he would never do if the battle were real. Optimus turned to Ethan Zachary and said, "I cannot accept this victory. I always have a choice, and I chose to cheat." He asked to be destroyed himself, not through the button that would destroy Megatron, but through his own. Ethan pressed the button. Optimus Prime was destroyed, not in battle, not by Megatron, by a human carrying out Optimus's own orders. The Decepticons left with the hydrothermocline. The Protectobots quietly gathered the remains of their fallen leader, and Ethan was left alone in front of the computer, carrying a weight no one else knew existed. But before he left, Ethan did something no one had seen. He inserted a 5¼ inch floppy disk into the computer and saved a complete copy of Optimus Prime's personality. A quiet decision, in a moment that seemed smaller than it was, one that, weeks later, would completely destroy Megatron. But the worst was still to come. Issue 25 is called Gone But Not Forgotten, published in October of 1986. The American army was preparing to invade the Decepticon base in Wyoming, but the Decepticons were already leaving. Shockwave had prepared a new base in the Florida Keys, where they could make full use of the stolen hydrothermocline's energy. Everything was in motion, except Megatron. He stood motionless, consumed by a question he could not answer. Was Optimus Prime really dead? It was not strategy. It was an obsession eating away at him from the inside. Megatron had built his entire existence around a single promise, that he would be the one to destroy Optimus Prime with his own hands in direct combat. That had never happened. A human had pressed the button, and Megatron had felt nothing. This is where everything began to change. So he called for brawl. He gripped the Combaticun's head and began to speak in a voice that was not anger. It was emptiness. Did you wrap your hands around his neck and feel its smooth steel skin? Did you squeeze and feel its infrastructure begin to buckle under the pressure? Did you keep squeezing until there was no longer any reason to squeeze? Brawl did not answer. Well, neither did I, and he hurled the Combaticon against the rocks with senseless violence. That scene was not about strength, it was collapse. At that moment, no one noticed what was being planted, and it is exactly in this moment of weakness that Shockwave himself plants the first seed of doubt. Asked why he seems so distracted, he suggests with calculated calm, since Optimus Prime died as a result of a game that simulated your characters, couldn't his death have been computer simulated as well? Megatron only answers with a thoughtful, The doubt was planted by the very man he trusted most, long before any proof appeared. 2 days later, alone on a Florida highway, Megatron's mind was already so fragile that he mistook an ordinary truck, driven by an unsuspecting human, for Optimus Prime himself, and destroyed it without hesitation. Only after reducing the vehicle to wreckage did he realize the mistake. It could have been Optimus Prime, he mutters, still disturbed. And if it had been, he would be dead. Only after that came the second ambush, this time an armed one. Without Megatron knowing, Shockwave and Soundwave had programmed the 5 Predacons to attack him, disguised with Autobot symbols in place of their Decepticon ones. The logic was cold. In Megatron's already fractured mind, seeing the Autobot symbol meant seeing Optimus Prime. 5 specialized hunting warriors were sent against a Megatron who was alone and psychologically broken. Megatron destroyed the 5 Predacons one by one, alone, surrounded, his mind falling apart, and still he took down every one of them. In the middle of the fight, Shockwave himself, who happened to be nearby investigating Megatron's delay, tries to help him. Let us deal with this menace together. Megatron rejects him furiously, nearly destroying him by accident. I need no one's help, robot or human. From now on, I fight my own battles, never suspecting that was exactly the ally he should have been wary of. Then the Predacons combined into Predaking, 80 feet tall. I am Predaking, the greatest hunting machine this galaxy has ever known. And you, little robot, are my prey. Megatron did not back down an inch. And you are a fool. I am no one's prey. I am Megatron, the conqueror. One single blast from the fusion cannon. Predaking fell. When the captured Predacons were recovered, it was one of them who brought the discovery to Megatron. A laser disc hidden inside Predaking's combined body. Megatron orders it played back in front of Shockwave himself. It was Shockwave's voice, giving the teleportation coordinates that had targeted Megatron. Megatron cuts off the playback the moment he recognizes the voice. I have already heard enough to recognize the voice of the traitor in our midst. Shockwave does not beg. He accepts his fate calmly. I did not merely give orders. I recorded major portions of my own personality onto that disc. I controlled the Predacons. I was with them as much as I am with you now. This is where everything changed, and that is where Megatron's mind broke for good. If Shockwave had managed to preserve his own personality on a disc, then the same was possible for any sufficiently advanced intelligence, for a programmer with access to the right computer, for a man who had sat alone in silence in front of a screen while Optimus Prime was destroyed. Megatron understood everything in an instant. Optimus Prime was not dead. He was somewhere inside a computer, whole, conscious, waiting for the right moment to return. Back at the base, Soundwave turns to Shockwave. Congratulations, Shockwave. Or should I say, Commander Shockwave. You did it. You destroyed Megatron, and it is Shockwave himself who corrects him, closing out issue 25. Correction, Soundwave. Although everything went exactly as I planned, I did not destroy Megatron. A memory did. If this video made you see a character you thought you already knew in a completely different light, share it with someone who grew up watching Transformers. And if you want to learn the dark origin of another classic villain that television hid from you, subscribe to the channel, because the next video is about a character who seemed harmless but had a deeply disturbing past. See you then.